Neymar Junior.
Into stride for Neymar. Neymar! Genius from Neymar! Are you kidding me?
This is the name of one of the greatest Brazilian players in football history. His skills marked an era in the sport, and together with Messi and Suarez, they became part of history by forming the best attacking trio ever seen. But it wasn't always like that. His childhood was chaotic. He lived in a small house with many other people. His parents struggled every day to put food on the table, and he even had an accident that would mark him for life. This is the story of Ney. Born on February 5, 1992, in Mogi das Cruzes, São Paulo, the talented Brazilian player grew up in an area where crime and extreme poverty were common. We lived in my grandmother's house with aunts, cousins and grandparents. There were 9 of us in a 3-bedroom house. It was very difficult. I remember telling my mother that I wanted a cookie, but we didn't have the money to buy it. She tried to comfort me. I told her, "I'm going to be rich and I'll buy a cookie factory." Sometimes she still talks about those things and cries. Growing up in a large family, in a humble home, wasn't the only thing that shaped Neymar's childhood. He had to go through one of the most difficult moments of his life when he was only 6 months old. The forward's father admitted that both he and his wife, Nadine, thought they were going to lose their son. The family was involved in a car accident, and Nadine, Neymar's mother, confessed, "In the grip of desperation and unbearable pain, I prayed to God to take me instead of my baby." He released his documentary on Netflix titled Neymar, The Perfect Chaos, where he also talked about the accident. This documentary is called The Perfect Chaos because my life has always been like that. Since I was 6 months old, when I had a car accident with my parents. I think that's when the chaos started. I survived and became a professional footballer. I'm happy, but I still have a lot of chaos in my life. Neymar comes from a family that loves football. His father played in an amateur league, and that's where he earned some money to feed his family. He retired after the accident and things got even more difficult. There were times when they couldn't even afford to pay the electricity bill. Now, do you understand why he always makes sure his son has great contracts? The life of young Ney began to change when he started playing football. He began in his neighborhood, but he enjoyed it so much that his family eventually signed him up for a small futsal club. There is where he learned to play in tight spaces, which helped him make quick decisions in just a matter of seconds. His incredible talent amazed everyone, even Santos, who ended up signing him. At just 14 years old, he was considered the best player in the club's youth academy by far. He had no rival. He was one of a kind. In fact, many European clubs wanted to sign him when he was still just a kid.
Já partiu, já ganhou do zagueiro, Neymar tá na área, driblou, o goleiro vai fazer golaço!
Real Madrid even offered him a trial, which he passed. However, the money they offered didn't convince his father, and for that reason, they returned to Brazil. Santos felt that European clubs were about to steal their most promising prospect, so the Brazilian team decided to pay Neymar $20,000 a month to keep him. He stayed, and in 2009, at just 17 years old, he made his debut. From that moment on, his talent made everyone start talking about the young boy playing for Santos. The fans no longer just went to see their team. They were excited to witness a show with Neymar as the main star. As if he were a magician, fans would go to see what new trick he would surprise them with this time. And he never let them down. He was the typical Brazilian star, humiliating his rivals with a smile. All the young boys dreamed of playing like him one day. They saw themselves in Neymar because he was just a young guy having fun while doing what he loved, like any other kid from the Brazilian favelas. There, he won the Copa Libertadores, scoring a goal in the final. He also won the Puskas Award after scoring an impressive goal against Ronaldinho's Flamengo. He couldn't win the Club World Cup final against Barcelona, but he did have the chance to meet his idol, Lionel Messi.
Estoy muy feliz de ser jugador del Barcelona. He conseguido mi sueño. Bueno, pues detallazo de...
His prime was undoubtedly at Barcelona. The Spanish team signed him in 2013, and despite his high level in South America, it took him a few months to adapt to European football. It was mainly because he went from being the star of the team to just another player, especially since none other than Leo Messi was on the squad. The Argentine saw Neymar crying in the locker room, and he decided to approach him, comfort him, and give him a message that would bring back the magic to the Brazilian player. Lionel told him, "You have to start playing like you did in Santos. Trust yourself and have fun. I'll always be here to protect you, don't worry." After feeling backed by his idol, Neymar began to shine again and surprise all of Europe. No one could believe what they were seeing. They hadn't witnessed such a level of magic with the ball since Ronaldinho. He scored goals, provided assists, created play, and even took charge when his Argentine teammate wasn't on the field. The months went by, and in 2014, Barcelona made the best decision in the club's history, signing that Uruguayan forward from Liverpool to form the MSN, the deadliest attacking trio in modern football history. They fascinated everyone, synchronizing perfectly and terrifying all their rivals. A team as spectacular as that couldn't take long to win it all. So less than a year later, they reached the Champions League final where they would face Juventus, led by Carlos Tevez. The Italian team couldn't do anything against the squad that Luis Enrique had put on the field. The first goal of the match came from Rakitic, then Morata equalised. But thanks to goals from Luis Suarez and Neymar, Barcelona lifted their 5th Champions League title in history. The Brazilian player not only scored that goal in the final, but also netted 9 other goals during the competition, tying Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi with 10 goals, sharing the top scorer award with these two legends. 2 years later, before making the worst decision ever made by a football player, he had one last moment of glory with Barcelona. That day, against PSG, Neymar's team started the match knowing they were down by 4. After several goals, the former Santos player not only scored 2 times, one in the 88th minute and another in the 91st, but he also beautifully set up Sergi Roberto to score the 7th goal of the match.
Gets onto his left foot and plays it into the box. He's in the net! He's in the net!
Sending Barcelona through to the quarter-finals. However, Barcelona would go on to be humiliated after losing 3-0 against Juventus, and Neymar's love story with Barca ended. On August 3, 2017, PSG confirmed the arrival of Neymar for €222 million, making him the most expensive signing in football history at that time. This move was very controversial for many reasons, but what angered football fans the most was that Ney broke up something as important as the MSN just for money. Others say he left because of his huge ego, that he felt inferior to Messi, and that's why he went to Paris to become the most important player on the team. But Ney already confessed the reason why he moved to Paris. He said, "I told Leo that I wasn't going to PSG to become the best in the world. I was going to Paris to play with my friends. All the Brazilians were there. Thiago Silva, Dani Alves, Marquinhos and Lucas Moura. That's why I decided to leave. It wasn't about money or the spotlight." His beginnings in Paris were dazzling. The French league felt too small for him. He humiliated all his rivals with the same skills he had shown at Barcelona. In fact, in 2020, he reached the Champions League final, where they lost 1-0 to Bayern Munich. That moment was what completely dimmed Neymar. From then on, his performances got worse and worse. Even with Messi on the team, Ney couldn't stop being lazy. His relationship with Mbappe had also deteriorated. Kylian and I are great friends, but Messi's arrival made us argue and fight. He was jealous. He didn't want to share me with anyone. In Paris, he couldn't win the Champions League, not even with that many stars around him. For that reason, a few months after being eliminated from the World Cup, Ney signed with Al-Hilal. In my opinion, that club put the final nail in the coffin of his career.